Hey all, welcome to ShareTrack. This is Raj here. Friends, if you may recollect that in the weekend video about the stock market, I had remarked that the markets will find a reason to go down regardless of whether inflation goes up or down. And that seems to be exactly what has happened. We need this negative sentiment to be replaced with optimism in order for the market to recover. I don't know what could be the catalyst to bring about optimism, because clearly dropping inflation has not pleased anybody as yet. So that's my main concern, and that's my focus of attention, trying to find out why. And if any of you have got any ideas, please put that in the comment below. That apart, the focus today is on diabetes. A few weeks ago, I reviewed Provention Bio and its monoclonal antibody therapy to delay onset of stage 3 type 1 diabetes. Today, I'm going to contrast it with the CRISPR VCTX210 approach, and I'm going to explain how both of these therapies work and what is the stage at which VCTX210 is right now and what to expect going forward. So let's get started. Welcome back, friends. Gene therapy focuses on the genetic modification of human cells to treat or sometimes even cure a particular disease. This happens by reconstructing or repairing defective or damaged genetic material in the body. When we look at type 1 diabetes, one approach of gene therapy could involve modifying a different type of cell to perform the task of producing insulin dependent on blood sugar level. The reason some other cell would be used is because in type 1 diabetes, any new cells recognized as beta cells would be killed by the autoimmune response, which is responsible for creating type 1 diabetes in the first place. Therefore, having a cell other than the beta cell to perform insulin production can be a good strategy, as these cells won't be killed. So this is one approach I am thinking could possibly happen. These are all my thoughts. I'm just sharing them with you, and I would like to have your reaction in the comment below. The other strategy, if possible, could be to modify the markers of beta cells so that autoimmune antibodies cannot find them, and they will kind of become invisible to the antibodies which are searching to destroy them, and therefore they'll persist in the body and continue performing their function of producing insulin and regulating the sugar levels in the body. So those are two fantastic ideas from my side. I don't know whether it's viable or not, or maybe there are scientists who are already working on this approach. We'll find out. Now let's look at TZIELD, which was recently approved by FDA, and its main objective is to delay the onset of stage 3 of type 1 diabetes. So in type 1 diabetes, there is a progressive killing of the beta cells by the immune system, and it progresses from stage 1 to 2. In the early stages, you have the presence of those autoimmune antibodies, and that should give an idea that beta cells are being destroyed. And in stage 3, that's when many people discover that they have type 1 diabetes, because that's when the blood sugar levels start fluctuating and people go to the doctor. And this particular monoclonal antibody therapy is administered over 14 days with a daily dose given over 30 minutes time frame. And so there are around 14 shots of 30 minutes each. And that provides the opportunity to delay the onset of stage 3 type 1 diabetes. So that's the USP of TZIELD. TZIELD. I'm going to call it TZIELD. TZIELD is designated as an immunomodulatory drug because it disrupts the autoimmune process in the body, particularly the process of the body destroying its own beta cells. It can be administered to someone who is already showing signs of developing type 1 diabetes, specifically when they are in what's known as stage 2. When a patient is positive for 2 or more autoantibodies and have some blood sugar incidents that are out of normal range but don't need insulin yet, and they are just about into stage 2, that's when TZIELD can be administered. TZIELD is an anti-CD3 monoclonal antibody that works by binding to CD3, cell surface antigen present in T lymphocytes, to delay the onset of stage 3 type 1 diabetes. TZIELD may deactivate the immune cells that attack insulin-producing cells while increasing the proportion of cells that help moderate the immune response. Now on to CRISPR Therapeutics, which is the main focus of today. VCTX210 had developed the pouch that contained stem cells that over a period of months could turn into insulin-producing pancreatic islet cells, and it took 6 months for the cells to start producing insulin. However, patients still needed some insulin from time to time, but were more or less within normal parameters for the larger part. Also, initial patients needed immunosuppressive therapy to prevent attack on the implanted cells. To improve this situation, ViaCyte collaborated with CRISPR Therapeutics to upgrade the therapy so that it would not need immunosuppression. They needed a stealth approach. CRISPR Therapeutics is already using immune system evasion in its CAR-T therapy and could bring value in that direction to the partnership. Last February, CRISPR Therapeutics announced the commencement of phase 1 clinical trial of VCTX210 in Canada under the umbrella of Health Canada, and VCTX210 is an allogenic gene-edited immune-evasive stem cell-derived therapy for treatment of type 1 diabetes. At the time of getting approval to commence clinical trials, CRISPR Therapeutics had mentioned that the enroll would commence by the end of 2021. In their financial release for February 2022, they announced that the first patients had already been dosed. And in their Q3 financial release, they confirmed that enrollment and dosing is ongoing for phase 1 clinical trial for VCTX210. A date for data from these trials has not been provided yet. However, they also announced plans for 2 new next-generation approaches on VCTX210. The first will be VCTX211, featuring edits to promote cell survival, and the second is VCTX212 in early-stage development to address both type 1 diabetes and type 2 diabetes. They also announced plans to file a CTA for VCTX211 within this year. CTA is basically the clinical trial application to Health Canada. So they are not going through the FDA route, they are going through the Health Canada route. I am thinking that in Q4 earnings report, we should expect to hear ETA for data from VCTX phase 1 clinical trials, and also some information on VCTX211 and how it is progressing. Now let me quickly show you how ViaCyte shows VCTX210 in its pipeline. So friends, you can see here that we are on the pipeline page for ViaCyte, and you can see 3 products out here. One is the PEC Direct, other is PEC NCAP, and the other is PEC QT, which is basically VCTX210. And the active cell component is all PEC01 cells. I'll show you later on a particular chart which clearly illustrates how they convert cells to become PEC01 cells. All of these are for type 1 diabetes except for PEC-QT, which is VCTX210, which is for all type 1 diabetes and insulin requiring type 2 diabetes. And then if we move on to the next slider out here, it shows the stage of development. So PEC Direct is already in phase 2 clinical trials. PEC NCAP is also in phase 2 clinical trial. And then PEC QT is in the development stage. This is VCTX210. We partnered with CRISPR Therapeutics. And so this is the update that we have on the website out here. And in terms of technology, if we look at their stem cell engineering technology, so this is what the cell looks like, the pouch looks like, which is implanted on the patient. And in order to do this, they have a technology for creating PEC01 cells. And if you see this diagram out here, I hope you can see it clearly. Post-production, I'll try to magnify this screen for you. So they have pluripotent stem cells, which they call as PSC. So they are able to expand PSC in a deterministic way so that it can produce a particular kind of cell. The cell could be a pancreatic cell, or it could end up being a stomach cell or a liver cell. So they are able to differentiate, and they also happen to have a proprietary pluripotent stem cell line called CYT49, which they claim they can scale up very quickly in order to create desired cells to scale. So ViaCyte is all set up with the cell part of it, and now it's the turn of CRISPR Therapeutics to come in with the genetic engineering in order to make sure that the system can deceive the immune autoimmune antibodies that are present in the body of type 1 diabetes patients. So that's what they are looking for. And if we look at how these two therapies differ from each other, it seems to me that while Provention Bio's monoclonal antibody therapy is aimed at delaying the onset of stage 3 of type 1 diabetes, the objective of VCTX210 is to provide insulin once the patient has reached stage 3. The prospect of VCTX211 is to assist both type 1 diabetes as well as type 2 diabetes, and is still in preliminary stages. I don't think these products are competing. VCTX211 may be a more robust and apparent choice for type 1 diabetes patients once it gets FDA approval. And if you look at the website of ViaCyte, it doesn't talk about VCTX211 and VCTX212, whereas those information are available on the CRISPR Therapeutics website. I had a quick look at the cash position of CRISPR and its cash burn rate, and it seems to me that the company will not have any problems, at least for the next couple of years, even if cash burn increase progressively. They have 1.9 billion in cash and cash equivalents. A good portion of its cash equivalents is in short-term investment, and the assumption I'm making here is that it is not in volatile instruments that would have lost value like our portfolios did in the last 2 years. I hope they have put it into some treasury bills or money market funds so that they could preserve the capital. Also, CRISPR does not have any debt in its balance sheet, so that's again a very positive thing. And all their current assets significantly outweigh their current liabilities by a major factor, so I'm not worried from the short-term ratio either. I think the share looks good at the current low price, but investors will need patience because it's going to take a while to monetize any therapy, and there can be many ups and downs till then. We still have a few more interest rate hikes. We still haven't overcome the China COVID issue because the COVID cases in China have skyrocketed and they're hitting record numbers. And the Russia-Ukraine crisis is far from over. It's still ongoing. And soon we are going to have the house taken over by the conservatives, and there's going to be a lot of inquiries and commissions that will be set up. So there's going to be a bit of government dysfunction in the US, which is typically a good situation for companies because government will be very busy fighting amongst themselves, so the regulation and other things become a bit lax, and also those factors have to play out. So I don't know how they will all balance each other out, but there is a lot of volatility still to be navigated. And the current improvement in outlook, which we saw, when I say current improvement in outlook, I'm genuinely looking at inflation coming down as an improvement in outlook. The current improvement in outlook, in my opinion, is fueled by the improvement in supply chain and also liquidation of overstocked products. That is my personal opinion. And I would like your feedback on what you think of CRISPR Therapeutics and VCTX210, and also what you think about the current market situation, so that I could understand what the community thinks and that can factor into my analysis. That's all for now, my friends. Have a great day. Bye for now. I'll catch up with you tomorrow.